You'll be glad to see that Alex Nightmare Hapgood is back again. But Greyheart, he's gone. It's got close enough to December the 25th that Santa Claus is in the building.
Oh, no. You've heard of Elf on a Shelf. Now get ready for Caster on a disaster? I don't know. Look, it's been a hard
just
day.
Go
right, we're straight
Caster.
back into Pick and Fan.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm feeling very festive after that last game, and it was very much the gift that kept giving from the Cabbage family, who had play after play looking so solid. Great performance basically from the entire team. Alpha Moss with the 4v1 escape, living to tell the tale. Poor Sean F90, Greg is doing the damage, mostly Grumpy with the engages. What on earth do DMU T1 do to change things?
I think you have to slow it down. Don't play into Cabbage Family's proficiency at making very broken, skirmishy plays work out for them. That was the game that kept giving, the gift that kept giving, until suddenly it didn't, because of course Team UT1 just they surrendered it. There obviously something was happening in communication where they decided, look, this is this game's enough for us right now. There is a little bit of logic to that, where you say, okay, this game is really not doing well for ourselves and our mantle. We need to recover this, so we got to stop this right now. But it does give a lot of confidence over the Cabbage family. How often do players get to say, I made the enemy team surrender in a grand finals?
It was impressive, and I certainly see the side of the argument you're making there. I can't say the Null's official line in terms of their tournaments, in terms of whether we, obviously FFs are accepted. It's not like they're losing bans or anything in this game for it. However, generally we don't like to see it, but you can certainly understand the feeling coming through from DMU T1. They seem to want to get straight into action on the next game. They're changing up their jungler, bringing in the Graves, but they have allowed Alpha Moss to get on the Shen again.
Have done. Graves is very important here, though, because the problem with the last game, by and large, was the fact that we cottoned onto it pretty early. Kha'Zix didn't get far enough ahead to be an assassination threat in anything but an ideal situation, which didn't happen for Heavy Dubs at Baramax. So the Graves, much more valuable across the board, high mobility, relatively tanky with the true grit getting stacked up, and then also just being very mobile too with the quick draw coming across. We're looking for this Graves to be much more of a damage pressure threat this time, rather than just the roaming assassination throughout the Kha'Zix, which can fall off in the larger scale fights like the 5v5s we saw so often in the last game.
Spirit decides that the set very much so wasn't the problem, opts into that matchup again, unless we see something coming out like the set support. We are going to see the Kai'Sa locked in again, playing another game of if it's not broke, don't fix it. Maybe we may see the Leona as the final lock-in for mostly Grumpy. Certainly would make a lot of sense in my eyes. The bans, by the way, were exactly the same as they were first time around. This time we are seeing the Nunu and Willump lock-in instead of what for me was quite a successful Kane.
That is very true, but I guess now you're playing around a Kai'Sa instead of the Ashe. Maybe that changes what you're trying to do.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so I wonder whether that changes the mentality and just think, okay, Nunu's strongest point of power in a game is as soon as you get the first Scuttle Crabs down, because with the move speed you get from those early into the game, you can rush into lane before people have all of their escape tools. They're low level, Nunu rolls into lane and just makes ganks happen too early into the game for people to really start stabilizing around that kind of condition. If you do that to bot lane and this Kai'Sa gets ahead, things are very, very problematic for the enemy team. Okay, normally I'd let you talk it, but Ezreal's locked in. Massive nerf this patch. Muramana no longer affects his W, E, and ult, which is a huge nerf to this champion.
It is absolutely massive, and there will be no Ashe this time round because the Ezreal was locked in. Rakan also taken off table, won't be paired up with the Kai'Sa. Leona still getting through as things stand. Morgana banned away from Didal.
Okay, so none of that heavy engage coming out from the side of Cabbage Family this time because they have changed sides, which means I need to change where my notes are on my table because that's how I do things. Whereas the Morgana taken it away from Didal, as you were saying.
So, fun fact, that's a very important thing to do, Nymera. I was casting, I believe it was a Null quarterfinal about 3 or 4 splits ago,
right. And
I used to do the exact same thing. I've changed my system up a little bit since then, but I used to have the little bits of sticky tape with the team names because when we're in the game, we don't get to see the nice overlay that Patrick Pants Campbell puts on for us, and so if we get which team. And I didn't swap the two over, so it got to the end of the game. It was the game-winning moment, and I shouted the wrong team's name in victory.
That is...
I'm good at my job. I really am.
See, unironically you are, but there are moments like this which are perhaps better forgotten or at least taken forward as lessons to learn.
Yeah, and speaking of which, to you in Twitch chat who said, caster on a Chaz Master, that only happened once in Spain.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was a clip to remember. A champion to forget, as opposed to a clip to remember, though, is that Syndra taken off the table. Orianna locked in for Sam J1046. Does open up the likes of that Echo for the counter pick again. Does do pretty well into a lot of these stationary mages.
Okay, I've got 2 more picks to be shown. Expect them to be support and also mid lane. Got the opportunity to counter pick into that Orianna, and yet again it's going to be the Echo locked in for Sean F90. I still want to see the Leona.
I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. Maybe you could go for something like a Nautilus instead if you think you prefer that. But the Engage would be really nice here. It gives you that extra option again. Actually, not going to go for that at all. It's going to be the Braum, much more of a defensive peel option. Very different look from mostly Rumpy.
Well, it's something a little bit different. We'll see whether it works out or if this is actually an opportunity being handed over to DMUT1 to put themselves back into this series. We're seeing a Maokai being held at the moment. There is, of course, the opportunity for the set to be in the support role. Maokai itself could also play in the support role. We'll see as these two teams put themselves in correct positions before getting onto the Rift. Looks like might be Malpai. Malpai, that new champion.
Malpai, yes.
Yeah, the Brighton striker, I believe.
If I knew anything about football, I'd be laughing along with you. And now I
smile and nod.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. I would really like to see the Maokai on top side. I think it's way better setup for the Graves to gank that. It also gives you a mixed damage top side of the map, because obviously Graves set both physical damage. Of course, you get true damage out of set, but it does become a little bit problematic. Because Shen gets to itemize very effectively versus the double AD top side of the set. Graves. I guess there's no Kayn to hyper gank the set in the early game as there was in that last game. But if this is coming out in the support role, very, very different look for DMU.
I will say in the last game, I mean, hyper gank maybe a bit of a stretch. We saw that one crucial, well, the double gank. Essentially,
there was the double gank in a row, yes.
Which certainly worked out nicely, but the Kayn was put so far behind by a slightly questionable early invade coming out of Cabbage Family that actually I was surprised to see him become relevant and the Kazakhs not in the last game. Now if we can have a game where things start slightly more smoothly for Cabbage Family now on blue side, maybe they can do even better.
That would be their hope. I am a little bit worried for the lack of engage outside of the Nunu snowballing his way down a lane and then just Echo doing random things with the parallel convergence, because you don't have that Nautilus Leona in the bot side again. However, Braum does do pretty well when you're setting up a lot of ganks since the early game too. You get that concussive blows passive, and it gives you a disengage option which you didn't have in that last game. So maybe that's what they're playing red.
Yep, and also, you know, obviously playing the Noodle and Will up this time round. Got to say for Porp, not only did he have a stunning game despite being put behind slightly on the Kane, he also got a shout out from an LEC caster, so he did pretty well in that last game. We are looking towards these next compositions. We're going to see which of these two teams dominates on the Rift. What is your gut instinct? You predicted a 3-1 victory for Cabbage Family. So far, things looking good for you.
I actually thought it was a 3-2. I thought it would be much closer than that. I think with that first game and how a lot of the transferable skills we saw on show in game one in terms of how Cabbage Family communicated, played around their objectives, and set up relatively well, and also caught out warding supports, which is something which is very important in these kind of games, it bodes well for them. On the other side, I really want to see DMU play a lot slower this game. You've got an Orianna, you've got an Ezreal, the Graves is also scaling up too. You can afford to do that, but you need to play with discipline. If you do give a 1-3-1 over to the side of Cabbage Family when they have the Shen who'll just hold a lane somewhere, and the Echo looking to assassinate someone like the Graves, Orianna, or Ezreal out of position, this could just turn into another rerun of game one where Sean F90 makes one big play on one side of the map while everything collapses on the other two.
Yeah, well, I have to say, when I look at drafts and I see something I haven't seen for a while, in this case, the Maokai support, I always have that one big question mark that I always feel that if it works out well, maybe it flips the game in the team's advantage. I'm not a massive believer in it just yet. Didol has the opportunity to prove me wrong. Gut instinct says Cabbage Family look good for this game and will immediately prove my prediction wrong, because I said 3-1 DMUT1. Should have stuck with my gut. We are going to be able to see everything that happens on the Rift in just a couple of moments. Our production team, led by the fantastic Patrick Pants Campbell, is going to be setting things up, but we're taking a small break before we go on to the Rift.
Can you see the snow? Wherever you are, boy, I need to know if I'm on your mind, like you stay in mind. Cause Christmas ain't the same year without you. Just another mistletoe that I can't stand, cause I'm on my own by the fireside. I'm so cold inside, cause Christmas ain't the same year without you, baby. So what's the night before I knew I wouldn't spend all day with you? Cause I didn't have you here in my arms. Santa, can you make my wish come true? Cause I don't wanna be alone in the season made for two. So come and keep me warm tonight, cause it's gonna be a cold one without you. Tell me if you want me, I wanna be your baby. I gotta know, baby, can you see the snow? Wherever you are, boy, I need to know if I'm on your mind, like you stay in mind. Cause Christmas ain't the same year without you. Just another mistletoe that I can't stand, cause I'm on my own by the fireside. I'm so cold inside, cause Christmas ain't the same year without you, baby. Oh, yeah. Christmas ain't the same year without you, baby.
We're back on to the Rift to bring you game 2 in this best of 5 prize final between Cabbage Family from Kent and DMU T1. We are seeing DMU currently 0-1 down. They're playing on the red side this time round. They need to do things differently to last time should they want to not be match point down.
That's the idea. They got a bit mangled in the last game, particularly when it came to the larger team fights when things got split. The Kane was high value. Porp's not on that champion anymore, playing a very different class of champion in the Nunu. Has the phase rush, interestingly, so when you're chasing down with those continued snowball tosses, try and get that root on a target, that can help very, very much. And also when you're doing the early game ganks, trying to run down for kills, can give you that extra bit of mobility, which might lead to that first blood. That's what I'm looking for, early game centric around the Nunu, and how DMU want to try and stop that.
Meanwhile, on the other side, of course, heavy dubstep, RMX playing the Graves this time round. I want to see just exactly how he plays this one out, because it feels like the Graves plays more into the playstyle he went with last time. Not quite as gank heavy as perhaps I expected from the Kazakhs.
No, I wouldn't expect so. So we're going to see the sapling start in the brush coming out from Didol. It means that you're going to get some poke coming back into the lane when this Braum and Kai'Sa do stop off after giving that leash over to the Nunu. Gives them that poke advantage. Maybe we can lead that into some kind of kill threat on the bot side.
I don't know whether or not Mostly Grumpy will throw up the shield or not. He does not, and immediately takes sapling after sapling to the face.
That's like a fifth to a quarter of the HP down already. Gets the Guardian for free. Wave push over to the Ezreal Maokai. That's a pretty novel technique. I hadn't seen that before. But there's the level 2 snowball coming from the Nunu.
Noble forcing the flash out of the Ezreal early on. Porp will take a huge chunk of health in return, however.
Well, he doesn't have the flash, does Ezreal, to try and follow up, or nor the arcane shift. But now Porp, taking that huge amount of damage, will have to go back to farming, use a couple of consumes to get that HP back up before another gank could be tried from this jungler.
I've got to ask you, worth yes or no? You get the flash out of Ezreal, but in a couple of levels he's going to have arcane shift anyway.
That is true, but it does stop the immediate wave priority coming out of the Ezreal Maokai when you know that this Kai'Sa will be the primary carry for the side of Cabbage Family. The question is, what is Porp going to do from this point? Because the second gank is much more unlocked on this map now because he's not seen on any wards from the side of DMU. The second gank might be more important than the first one.
He does fall a camp behind, and Graves looks for a potential invade towards the blue buff. We'll keep our eyes peeled towards that one in just a moment. Meanwhile, we see the trades happening on bot side. Here comes Heavy Dubstep looking to try and get the steal. Smite available for both the junglers. It's going to be Heavy Dubstep losing out on the smite fight. Porp now trying to turn the damage back around. Parallel convergence thrown down. Heavy Dubstep having to flash away, looking for safety from Spirit, forcing the flash out of Porp. Here comes Samjay and Sean F. Samjay's taking the worst of the trades as they come across. Heavy Dubstep now invading once more into this blue side of the blue buff side of the blue jungle. In the end, nobody dies, but lots of summoners burn.
We've seen one Nunu and Newell this split on stream, to my knowledge. It was us casting it. It was Bristol Whip playing in the very first week, and how they showed they could be a Nunu in the early game is you just battle ward them. You run at them. You might end up getting collapsed on, but if you are quicker to the punch, you can stop the Nunu rotating around very quickly, and you can try and take the fights when you are strong too. They don't steal the blue buff out, but they force the flash away from the Nunu, and they stop maybe a gank into the top side in the next minute.
Definitely useful. Meanwhile, Spirit getting good damage onto Alphamore. Sean F going very, very aggressive, dashing forward into Samjay. Maokai lurking in the wings.
A really good roam from the Maokai. If that had gone any deeper, that would have been a really good chance for a flash W-twisted advance. Nunu just walking forward, being a bit of a nuisance, bit of a gnat biting into the shoulder of Spirit. That's really the amount of damage that comes out too. Not significant, but it does shield Alphamos in that lane.
A quick glance at Twitch chat and a chuckle from me as I do see that the Porp copy pasta has begun. His hordes of fans hoping he's really going to be porping off.
Another
He's
gang.
coming up into the top lane. The taunt already connecting on Spirit. He flashed himself away, but maybe he's gone too early as the snowball is still going to connect. We're looking at potential first blood. Spirit going lower and lower, using the haymaker, gets down into the Porp for his life and loses it still. Alphamos secures first blood.
Hyper ganking jungler, baby! Nunu finally makes his way up to the top side. We thought maybe the Graves invade had delayed that for a bit long enough so that Spirit could maybe reset, get some items, come back into lane, and be safe from it. Doesn't happen that way. Doesn't get the wave in the right position. The taunt lands from Alphamos. The flash from Spirit is not enough to carry him to safety. First blood goes over to the Shen.
Teleport as well burned from Spirit, who wanted to get back and pick up as much CS as possible on the back of picking up boots and also that ruby crystal. You look on the other side, or if you look towards top jungle, both of them completing the Bammy Cinders. It's the first time I've seen 2 early Bammy Cinders since I accidentally bought them.
Oh, I'm sure that's a story to tell. You see, this is why I don't
story.
play tanks. So I've bought 2 Sheens before. That's what I've done. That was the double blue sword. I was trying to play an MMO, and I was trying to kit up, and it didn't work, Stan. Didn't work.
The first time I ever played League, I believe I was playing against beginner bots or whatever they were called at the time, and I didn't know how to play the game until no one really held my hand to help me through it, as you can tell by the fact I still can't play the game. And I bought 6 sets of just regular boots. Thought that would really, thought being fast would be really, really helpful in this game.
So you were the progenitor of running it down mid. Fantastic.
No,
today we've
I will tell you
discovered...
right now, I was running it down bot, actually.
My first game of League, I played Kale versus bots, and I went 0-9. Because I didn't know I didn't know you could dive turrets. And it looks like you can dive turrets to the bot side. Ezreal's getting caught.
Not much has changed for Alex in his League career, and not much has changed for Soxlu dying in this game, just like he did in the last one, unfortunately. And it is going to be Porp who is securing a kill for his team.
You asked whether that level 2 gang from the Nunu was worth when the Arcane Shift would be available to Ezreal after that play. Well, turns out, because they managed to capitalize on it, probably is. Really liking the way that Pawp is upping the tempo of this game. Pawp is the shot caller for Cabbage Family. We've talked about this guy for a while. And he's making sure that every side of the map is being threatened on the side of DMU, making sure that DMU cannot walk up without vision. They have to be very cerebral about where they want to play the game now, because this Nunu is making a dent across the map.
Last game, we saw Pawp doing this absolute brilliant work on the Kayn. This time round, I've got to say the star of the show so far for me has been the Nunu. I can tell you that the votes have swung in favour of Kent as well. Twitch chat have changed allegiance. They believe in the Cabbage Family.
And you would be very right to say that based off of what we've seen so far. But of course, remember, there's the best of 5. Even if this game is won by Cabbage Family, there is a well-trodden path and history and psychology known about the phenomenon of the reverse sweep does come to pass. There's a lot of adaptation, but can you adapt to Nunu coming in again?
Didal's in a lot of trouble. Isn't going to get knocked up by the snowball. Root's going to connect onto Pawp, but Didal's the one going low. He flashes himself away. Pawp takes a turret shot, does not get shut down as Regas picks up a kill. He does eventually get shut down as Didal finds himself that kill, courtesy of the Ignite and minion damage.
When you smite a minion, you don't get HP back. Only applies to monsters. Tries to maybe get some move speed to run away with Nimbus Cloak, but the Nunu goes down. At least there's no buffs traded over because Didal was dead at that time. Unfortunately for this Ezreal, this wave is now going to be pushing over to the side of the Kai'Sa and the Braum. And it means that they really don't have any pressure on bot side to play around.
It's again blue buff under threat. Heavy dubstep going to take one away.
Shenol
himself over the wall, but with the stand united, just as the flash over the wall comes in from Sean F, it is going to be dubstep.
No mana or honor.
Sean F decides to bounce himself back as Sam J with low mana is trying to step away. Spirit here as well. Sean F dashing forward, finding one shot with the time winder. Pawp throwing the snowball straight down onto the Orianna, who gets knocked up. Spirit finds the kill onto Sean F, but now the taunt connects onto Spirit. One kill already secured by the Nunu. Alpha takes the second. It's a 2-for-1. Actually, it's a 3-for-1 because the Grace dies too.
Disaster for DMU. Sam J has mana. The shockwave turns that fight. It disengages. Doesn't have it. Doesn't have the ability to cast any of his abilities. And now we've got a teleport coming down bot lane. It continues, Stan.
Alpha Moss comes in, taunt connects, Didal is absolutely dead to rights. He's going to get obliterated as Alpha Moss picks up a kill. We are going to see Braum going down to Ezreal. A couple of kills being handed over slightly sloppily by the Cabbage Family.
Tower MVP in this bot side, coming out with some unexpected damage onto the Nunu first, and now the Braum, this time giving some gold back over to DMU. That gives them something to play around. It isn't neutral objectives. It isn't really in any sort of lead across the map right now, but it is something. Oh no, Graves, you really don't want to be taking these fights.
Sean F has got a little bit of trouble as Sam J comes across and just loses half a health bar for stepping up to the Echo. How dare you, says Echo as he just throws out damage for days.
There is a corrupting potion at least. Now we've got the Braum. Graves is really trying to take stuff away, but he's being so dangerous about it.
He's able to dash over the wall, but guess what? So is Sean F90 and mostly grumpy. Didal comes across, but he might have just sealed his own fate. Stun is going to connect courtesy on the parallel conversion. Sean F gets hit by the ultimate from the Orianna. However, he's already got himself one kill. He bounces back in time. He finds 50% of his health, and now he finds himself engaged once more on Sam J. Timewinder gets thrown out. It's going to be Sean F going over the wall. Sotsu finds a kill yet again onto Braum, mostly grumpy, not finding himself on the right side of this fight. Echo looking for a potential execute, but he's in danger. We could see some extra gold going the way of the Ezreal, who will certainly want to secure this one. Parallel conversion shield comes through. Sean F looking for another dash. Instead decides to take it towards Sotsu. Root connects, and eventually Sotsu is able to take down Sean.
That was a fight based off of timers in seconds left. The Echo ult came up about 1 or 2 seconds before he would have eaten enough damage to die. The Kai'Sa ult wasn't available. That would have turned the fight yet again. And this time, at least they do get the shutdown on the Echo once again. Ezreal has to sit under turret once more, but is happy at least to pick up the gold from that fight.
Gold lead has been reduced to only 1,500 now in favour of Cabbage Family. Yes, it's not ideal for DMU T1, but considering that this is the team we said they want to sit back a little bit more, be a bit more passive and scale up, at least they know they're getting closer and closer towards those late game power spikes, and Ezreal will hit them sooner than anticipated. Still, as you say, big changes for Ezreal, massive nerf with the Mana Moon changes.
It is because, of course, Ezreal having so many single target well, of course, it's not just on single target abilities now. The change with Muramana this preseason was the fact that it applied on all abilities, which meant that a lot of mages were taking it. Because so many mages were taking the Muramana, because Seraph's doesn't have the shield anymore and therefore isn't as good as a defensive item, Muramana had to be changed, so it only applies on magical ability, on physical damage abilities and no longer magical ones as well. Kai'Sa with her W is affected by that, but Ezreal with his W, E, and ult in a full combo loses out on 3 procs of the Muramana. Of course, you still get it through your Q poke, you still get it through your auto attacks too, but it's sizable DPS nerf for that champion.
Spirit trading with Alpha Mox. Alpha Mox is now running a 3-0-2 score line, having played 2 brilliant games so far of this Shen. Of course, plenty more of this game still to go. Second dragon of the game is going to be secure as Port takes away what is, I think he's taken all but one of the neutral objectives in this series so far.
I believe so. Nunu spinning his way into mid. He's going very deep off that.
I think he was worried the Herald was going down, but instead it's Nunu who goes down as it's going to be the shockwave catching onto him. SeanF trying to get a return kill, but SeanF, you cannot handle that! Whew! Spirit gets himself the kill.
He does. SeanF 90 locked up in the suppression of the set. Ultima goes down. It's a 2-for-none, seemingly out of nowhere. This is the scrappy style we kind of saw in game 1, where Cabbage Family would just commit and hope that things would work out. But because they're pretty good at instinctively playing around, that game 1 went very, very handily to them. This is the flip side of that. If you don't calculate things quick enough, then things go badly, badly wrong. The Shen ult didn't come through. They didn't have the Kai'Sa to follow up on that same side of the map too. It's gold. It's a neutral objective. It's a swing in the flow of this game.
For what is now, I've just realised, the 3rd time this series, DMU-T1 take themselves a neutral objective. They did manage to take one of the Heralds last time around. We are seeing this Herald secured pre-14 minutes. The question is, can it be put down in time to be used at its greatest effect? It seems unlikely.
Seems fairly unlikely. Graves is still on the map. There's a chance it could go somewhere. Maybe this mid lane, because Echo doesn't have the most instant wave play. Needs 1 or 2 Qs to clear away, particularly that backline. And yeah, Graves is choosing not to. I wonder how long they're going to save it for. But of course, remember, if you did commit to a big fight and you get caught out, then you're just giving gold right back to the Cabbage Family.
Which, to be fair, is exactly what the Cabbage Family just did. You spoke about how well they played things out in the last series. One of the things they kept doing was they found those engages as a 5, especially as we came towards mid-game. That was plain and simply Port running straight towards multiple members of the team without having the sort of backup he definitely needed.
He does have the Sunflower Aegis now, so in the point that you were hitting on there, maybe the next fight has enough HP, has enough staying power to stick in the fight a little longer. As it stands, though, on this patch, Sunflower Aegis had a minus 100 HP nerf, used to give 350, now goes down to 250, I believe that's the stats. So a sizable nerf to that item. Now we see the setup on the bot side, looking towards maybe trying to take down this bottom mid tower, and Nunu's going deep.
Dido getting slowed down, has got Graves for company, however, dashes straight back in as we see Mostly Grumpy throwing down the Glacial Fisher. Sam J and New Champion Soxu responding quickly. This is something that DMU-T1 have been doing better in this game. They now look for potential re-engage, but they've got to be very careful.
They do, particularly because if you overcommit and you play this skirmishy style and run straight into a shockwave, things go very, very badly. You do have the set on your team to try and break things up and try and shove someone out of the backline, someone like the Nunu trying to sit there and ultimate. Of course, just use that in that fight there. But the big problem will be, can you take down both the Kai'Sa and the Echo, because they're doing sizable damage in this game already.
SeanF doing what he can to make Samjay's life hell. However, I give credit to Samjay for only dying the once in this matchup this time round. Mostly Grumpy gonna eat up most of the damage coming through from the Ezreal, but with that big old door.
Big old door trying to block off some of that wave clear coming from Ezreal. And one thing, even though there's a lot of gold on this Ezreal, it has built up to that Divine Sundra. Does have, that's a very important point in power. There's been no real wave control from this bot lane of the Ezreal Maokai. The wave has been exactly where the Kai'Sa and Braum have chosen it to be, and that has led to them getting these early dragons. It might lead to them getting the soul point in the next minute and a half, because that will be when the next dragon comes up, and of course trying to take objectives away from Nunu, very, very dangerous. That's why Graves is heading towards this bot side, maybe trying to set something up in advance.
Looking towards the bottom half of the map, throwing down the Herald potentially to try and clear out as much of this turret as possible. Not going to go down this time, however, maybe just going to wait this one out. Teleport has been used by Orianna to return to the mid lane.
Has been. So I think that's very important. A lot of gold spent by the Orianna. Once again, playing one of these mages with the Leandri's Anguish. Has the Mercury Treads importantly this time. That'll help survive through the CC to get to a shield, get to be able to flash out and use that shockwave to disengage further. I really want to see when Cabbage Family can open up to 1-3-1. Use that Nunu to run between lanes. Use the Kai'Sa to engage on those plays too. And have this Echo of Sean F90, who played so well in that last game, pop off and start making some of those big plays, which the Cabbage Family might need to tilt the map in their favor.
That'll be very, very hard to deal with later on. However, we've said it before, massive scaling is coming through from DMU21, and I think they will be harder to deal with as well. They're only 400 gold behind. They've almost entirely narrowed that gold lead that stood for so long, and to be fair, still stands. Most of that gold in Alpha Moss's pocket. He's got a 500 gold advantage over the set on the Shen. That is the biggest advantage there is in the game at the moment, so certainly no massive differentials as this third dragon spawns.
Okay, so all the big ticket ultimates are available. Going in with Hawk, doesn't actually find a good angle in, but Didol is playing blocker for this Nunu. You can just twist it advance onto the Nunu as he's trying to snowball in. Let's watch and see how the angles are approached by Cabbage Family.
Here we go. We are going to see on the side being invaded on. It is going to be Dragon going lower and lower and going down to heavy dubstep. RMX taking this one. Alpha Mess again, absolutely shredded through. This time he's Alpha Mess because Null Champion Soksu takes him out with the Mystic Shot. Heavy dubstep. RMX is eventually going to give up his life as we see a kill going over to both Echo and to the Nunu as well. But Nunu gets slain by the Orianna. The massive showstopper comes in from Spirit as he aids Orianna in double kill. Make it a triple. We could even see more. We see Set picking up the final one of those kills. This time it's an ace for DMU T1.
They disengage appropriately. They keep their carries alive. Ezreal and the Set and the Orianna out DPS their counterparts. And on top of that, the Nunu doesn't get the Dragon, goes in for the Consume Smite combo and does not secure the Dragon. They don't get themselves soul point. They give up a whole host of gold. They're now in the deficit instead of in the advantage, and it's for once DMU with control of the map.
DMU T1 will not disappear quietly into the night here on the Null Winter Final broadcast. They are looking so good in game number 2. None more so than Soksu, who's now running a 4-1-4 scoreline. He's got Sundara completed. He has a 400 gold bounty on his head.
Very, very happy in this game is that Ezreal, of course, we've been saying the entire night, will be still stung from the Muramana changes, but will still be happy to build up that item and have that Q poke. Set, on the other hand, unhappy to be ganked yet again.
Looking to turn things around. Haymaker still available, not anymore. Spirit's going to have that shield eaten through, but it's enough to save his life. Buying time for Graves and Orianna to join him on the top side of the red. Hawk having to be very, very careful. Walking through the smoke cloud. Does not have his flash available. Not even a chilling smite to slow things down. Goes for absolute 0, but gets down absolutely 0 damage before Sam J takes him downtown. Alpha Moss with the Stand United does help things out a little bit and gets the shutdown of Sean F, who takes down Sam J. Alpha Moss now is the one left running for the hills. He tries to get away, but it's the end of the line for him. Heavy dubstep next finds one as Spirit finds another onto Echo. Root gonna connect courtesy of Didol's ultimate onto Mostly Grumpy. He's got nowhere to go. Suddenly 3 kills on the Graves.
Heavy dubstep carrying a big old iron on his hip, brings both barrels to bear and shoots down the Echo, tries to go in for that passive E combo, but runs into the end of the line, and it is the end of the line for Sean F90, who's very, very much struggling to make as much of an impact as he did in like that last game.
It's very, very true, and if I'm honest, the same is also there for Port, who started things off well as the Herald is not secured, just a second too late there for heavy dubstep RMX. Port started things off strongly, but that impact jungling has not been working out quite so well since Port Infinite down topside river.
It's been a little unfortunate. They haven't quite managed to get the vision down. Haven't quite managed to deny enough vision for them to deny DMU the ability to push up and feel safe around the map. And now, because there's been so much gold put into the pockets of the likes of the Orianna, the Ezreal, who is scaling, and all of these other champions can just play a blocker for their backline carries, and the team of Cabbage Family very much struggling to get to those carries.
Here we go again. Orianna trying to get safety, but having to sidestep parallel convergence, unable to sidestep a big old snowball. Sean F takes that kill, his 5th of the game.
This is how it starts. You try and get some kills onto those isolated targets before there is enough time to collapse onto them. There was no flash on the Orianna. That was the go button. Pop finally gets back on the right track in this game and gets a kill for his team.
Heavy dubstep RMX trying to clear out some vision, but has got to be careful. That slow, steady pace needs to come back in for DMUT1. Just not take every single fight that is coming while we just have this little break in the play before perhaps another fight breaks out and we lead to ourselves down the old Baron dance. I want to give a shout out to Rajnag in Twitch chat, who's come out with what is certainly my favourite Twitch chat comment of the evening so far. I guess DMU put on their Levi's. Damn right.
Well, they'll want to be hiking them up and wading into the mud of this next couple of minutes. You can see what was trying to be attempted by Cabbage Family. Get yourselves a good fight, immediately go over towards that Baron. You have a Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa, one of the better Baron killing champions in the game, and Nunu, one of the best Baron securing champions in the game. If you have that, you have the ability to just disappear off the map and force a response from your opposing team. Problem is right now, this Kai'Sa getting poked down pretty heavily by the Ezreal.
Of course, one of the things that you have to consider, Nightmare, is that because of these two early dragons secured by Porth and the rest of his team, every single time one of these dragons spawns, we look at a potential to secure soul point coming in for Porth, and he now is going to find his red buff stolen away from him. Heavy dubstep goes very, very aggressive. You see Ezreal throwing the damage down. Porth gets thrown out of his ultimate as soon as he puts down little damage. Spirit, on the other hand, is on a rampage, bopping everyone with showstoppers, haymakers, face breakers. Alpha Moss is going to be the next to fall. Double kill coming in for the Orianna. Greg is sent absolutely scurrying away, and there's absolutely no way this dragon is under contest anymore.
If DMU made an album out of that fight, it would be called Now That's What I Call Wombo. They get every multi-man ability onto 3 people around the bush at the bottom of that red buff. They get a shockwave, they get the showstopper, they get everything onto them, and there's no way to recover from that HP deficit. Gregors is alive, but he's getting collapsed on very, very hard. This is seeming like a bit of a funeral march for this Kai'Sa.
He's got pretty much nowhere to run to. Perhaps we'll look for a recall, but it might just be a case of delaying any potential start on the Baron for as long as possible. 2 Ocean Dragons, of course, now secured. Gregors will die. Samjay gets himself his 7th kill of the game. That's right, 7. And yes, he had an absolutely fabulous shockwave in the last one that led to his double. Heavy dubstep gets caught out. Does manage to dash himself over to the wall. No way for Mostly Grumpy to follow. Spirit coming across for support. Didal on the Maokai has made a believer of me. 1, 3, and 11.
It's done really, really well. Every time Cabbage Family have gone for one of these engages, the Maokai ult has stunted it enough for the Ezreal and the Orianna to reset the fight, get some big damage out, and of course this Graves is doing ample work too. The Immortal Shield Bow and the extra damage coming in from having an AED carry in the jungle as opposed to that Kha'Zix is meaning that this heavy dubstep champion and his role within this game much more secured, and DMU feel much more comfortable so far.
That being said, the game is far from over. Yes, there is a 6,000 gold lead, but this one isn't over by a long shot. I will say, however, despite the early pressure, Cabbage Family have not taken a single turret in this game so far.
No, they haven't. That's a big problem. We talked about the Shen, the Ezreal, not the Ezreal, the Echo, that's the other E champion on this Rift. It's going to be very important for this Echo to have an elongated lane. Sit inside brushes, sit around the jungle, get vision, look for picks onto the Graves, Orianna, Ezreal, try and get numbers advantage and use the Shen ult to widen the map to a point where Cabbage Family can respond to players that DMU cannot possibly do the same to. They haven't managed to do that so far. They've lost themselves 2 turrets, haven't taken any of them, as you were saying, and that is really hamstringing what Cabbage Family want to do right now.
We have got a real fight on our hands because I do feel like Cabbage Family showed in the last game just how well they can coordinate a team fight. This time around, however, it's not quite so easy to start. Yes, they've got Nunu Snowball, but if that doesn't connect, it's not like they've got the Solar Flare from Leona. It's not like they've got the, what was there a fantastic engage W last time round?
The Assault.
The Assault, of course. It's absolutely so much harder for them to coordinate these fights, and it is showing this time around. Now it's Shawnef trying to clear out the vision, who's been found out, loses 50% of his health, and does before popping ultimate. Suddenly it's a 5 versus 4. Shen still in the bottom half of the map, does have the ultimate and teleport available should he want to join. But wow, losing Shawnef just like that is a critical blow for Cabbage Family.
Pop goes the Echo. So much damage coming out of the Ezreal. Talk about it being nerfed. Does not matter. Gets the final take of damage with the Mystic Shot flying into the back of Shawnef 90. And that will be the Baron for them off of one opportunistic pick.
Bye, Baron. Nunu coming across, perhaps trying to pinch onto the set, but there's already 5 Baron empowered team members for DMUT1, who now have themselves an 8,000 gold lead at 25 minutes. We saw an FF roundabout this time. I do believe that we won't be seeing that this time. I think it's frowned upon, shall we say. So more of a contest to come.
And I think there will be more of one. I believe we just saw the gold graph up on screen, and what a cliff edge that is. And Cabbage Family, they're plummeting down it right now. Much like DMU in the last game, they're looking for an out. They're looking for a way to get back into this game. Might start from one of these cross-map plays as this set getting collapsed on. But the problem I've had this game with how Paup has played the mid to late game, if you consider this late game, it is only 26 minutes in. He's been teaming up with mostly Grumpy and Alpha Moss. There's no extra damage coming in that can actually threaten one of these carries. It takes too long to kill someone. Graves turns up, Oriana turns up, or Ezreal turns up like that.
Sean F already having to burst, put down the ultimate. The exhaust is put down onto him. Eventually, we are going to see people chased away, but that was the flash burn from Sean F90 as well as his ult, and so nearly dying without even being able to pop that ultimate again. Meanwhile, Spirit trading onto Alpha Moss. We're going to see the Baron Power team pushing down, taking away one dragon. Paup is absolutely rinsed through by the damage coming through from this Ezreal that's got 5 kills and only 1 death. An inhibitor turret will fall, and now the dominant pressure being put on by DMU T1 is too much for Cabbage Family to withstand, and it is going to be inhibitor dropping. Meanwhile, Mostly Grumpy stepping forward, trying to catch onto Sanjay, throws down the Dave Fisher, only catches onto the Grave. Shockwave
Good
falls.
shockwave.
Grave's still in a lot of trouble, and Dubstep RMX is going to die to the Shed, who joined. He hasn't even used the stand united yet. Taunt's going to connect. This is a turnaround as Soxu finds 1 kill, but Oriana finds another onto the Kai'Sa. Gregors yet again falling in the fight before able to put down the damage he would like. Mostly Grumpy returning to the safety of the fountain, and now it's a game of clearing out minions.
DMU T1 were putting the base of Cabbage Family to the sword. They weren't taking any chances. They raised the inhibitor, but they do lose their jungler. I don't think this is a free dragon for the side of Cabbage Family. I think that the set and the Oriana alone can maybe zone out that Nunu well enough. The question is whether Cabbage Family can bypass all of this vision, get to the objective quickly enough as it has just spawned, and maybe get themselves to Soul Point. That would be a good turning point for them.
I don't think it can be considered a free dragon when they couldn't even take their red buff on the back of that fight. They are going to start the dragon up, but I do believe this one is going to be heavily contested. Graves has just respawned.
No shockwave just yet.
F taking a big chunk of his damage. This is the moment for Spirit to go in. It is going to be Paup picking up a dragon, lose out on the red buff, does secure a 3rd dragon in the game. Shutdown comes in as Braun takes down the Oriana. It feels like DMU T1 they stayed. They wanted to steal, but instead they're losing lives. Spirit blasts on that blast cone.
The Shadow.
And that's going to mean he's not there to be able to take down Spirit, who actually flashes over the wall, wanting more of Paup, finding more of Paup. Spirit is unstoppable. Alpha Moss now being chased out by Didal. Meanwhile, super minions are arriving in the mid lane. There are no teleports available for Spirit or Sanjay, but it might not matter with such long death timers. Alpha Moss looks almost certain to die to Heavy Dubstep, who has had a phenomenal game on this Braves. It is going to be the blast cone just about keeping Alpha Moss alive. It might keep the game alive for now as well, but I don't think it'll keep Mostly Grumpy alive.
But at what cost? Yes, there are super minions in the mid lane. Mid lane super minions don't take Nexus turrets on their own. They'll have a good crack at it, take some HP off. But the question is, can Cabbage Family regroup and defend this bot inhib with the Graves and Ezreal there? I do doubt it. They do have the range advantage to do it, DMU.
Parallel convergence comes down, no stun to be found. Shield is going to be there for Sean F. The inhibitor turret will survive for now, as did Mostly Grumpy in the end. Alpha Moss has come in with the teleport. He's gone in deep. He is now all on his lonesome, looking for the Soxu, who Arcane shifts away, doesn't get hit by the taunt, puts down damage, gets shut down by Sean F90, who finds himself a big chunk of gold. Absolute Zero, this time doing damage in his Spirit, who falls. The shutdown comes in. Triple kill for the Echo. The super minions are onto the Nexus turret, but Didal and Sanjay are the last remaining fighters there for DMU T1.
And what does Ohana mean? It means family. It means no one gets left behind. Everyone comes to the party from that Cabbage Family. They get themselves a host of kills, keep themselves in the game, and now they're swinging for the punches better than ever.
What an absolute game this is. The gold lead that had got beyond 8,000 now drops to less than 7,000 with the flip of a switch. Big shutdowns come in. There are no bounties on anybody's heads anymore. We've had ourselves a reset. Good gold comes through for Sean F and the rest of his team, but they are still on the back foot with an inhibitor downed.
They are, so we're looking to see where the next fight will be, who's got the advantage, what's the map state going to come into. One of the things is that DMU, with the pressure they've had for such a long time, do have an overabundance of vision which has still survived. One of those pink wards just cleared out by Alpha Moss, very close to their base gate on the bottom side of the map. But as you can see around this bottom side of the, in the rest of that red side jungle and then into the river too, DMU have the vision advantage, whereas Cabbage Family still playing with limited information. If they want to keep brawling, want to keep advancing on to DMU, they need to have that information if they want to take the win.
I wasn't sure about this Maokai pick, but in the same way as last week, we at some point saw a Galio support working out really well, able to put down all of that CC and everything it could bring to a fight, while actually not taking away the gold of, let's say, a top lane, like, for instance, the set that is being played here. This Maokai is working, it's doing good damage, it's finding great vision. Now, potentially, we're going to see Sam J engaged upon his split away from the team with Port, who takes a significant chunk of damage in return. Soxu throws down the true shot and doesn't manage to find too much of anything. That ultimate now burned from Didol, but the Baron has just spawned, and straight away it's going to be Spirit and his squad who are looking to start it up.
Yeah, speaking of that damage, this poke coming out from the brush saplings is really annoying. You can't dodge it, you have to aggro that little sapling and get away from it, and it keeps slowing the engage. Look at the amount of HP advantage that DMU already have.
Warp in so much trouble, desperately needs to consume something to get that health bar up. The Baron's been started off, has been stopped for now courtesy of the engage that came through, but it costs so much of Porp's health. The Nunu in a lot of trouble. Well, Willem trying to keep him alive for now. That's going to be control ward popped in the back of the pit. This Baron down to 60% health. We will see whether or not it goes down to 0 or not.
Got to see Porp still at half HP, has Flash, very dangerous, and does have at least that only one level deficit, is within range of the steal. The Sean's going in.
And Boom Smite will out damage heavy dubstep, but mostly Grumpy. He's dead. Null champion Soxu finding himself one. Shockwave dodged away by Gregors. The Baron was stopped. Completely stalled for now. It's going to be restarted up. It may even end up being traded for Ocean Soul. That's
okay.
Connecting up to Didol. He didn't go with his team. He has to flash away, but he's still caught onto by the Kaiser with the killer instinct. Sean F90 is going to find one. Heavy Double is trying to do what he can. Gets caught out by the absolute zero. The slow's going to be there, but the massive showstopper from Spirit finds face break on two. Heavy Dubstep kinds the kill onto Gregors. Porp trying to run for his life, but he's obliterated. This is going to be the game now for DMU T1.
Forget the Baron dance. This is the Dance Macabre from DMU T1. Signals the death of game 2, and we are going to even match score. It's a glorified best of 3.
Almost certainly. Let's see exactly what focus gets put down. That inhibitor is under threat on the bot side. That's where the minions are going to come through from. This may not be the game for now. It's going to be a retreat over towards the dragon coming in. The Baron ends up not being secured, but 2 inhibitors down is the reward for DMU T1.
I think the real turning point is that Sean F90 survives, and we know how much burst damage that Echo puts out. Having the Rocket Belt Lichbane combo, building up towards that Death Cap as the next item after the Zhonya's. This is actually going to be a dragon for Baron's contest, or at least the vision taken away from Cabbage Family. I think it would be very bold of them to try and start this up. Kaiser's not there yet, and there will be ample time for DMU to make their way up to this side of the map.
It is very bold, but boldness is what Cabbage Family were made of in game 1, and here we go in game 2 as they look to try and save this one. True shot barrage will connect.
Spirit
landed the 4-man face breaker, looking for the showstopper. Mostly Grumpy already almost eviscerated. Porp having to smite early just to stay alive. It's going to be Sean F90 bouncing back. He's going to be able to stay alive. Porp might not be so lucky. He's deaded. Meanwhile, Kaiser does find the kill onto Oriana. This is a 4v4, but it's going to be bigger old health bars there on the side of DMU T1 as they look to take down the Baron. Already, because of those 2 inhibitors down, we see the next under threat. The shielding comes in. It's going to be heavy dubstep.
Gets him!
Absolutely dubbed on, courtesy of Alphamos coming in with the stand united. That's why Shen is a god tier champion.
Huge play coming out of Gregors and Alphamos. They turn around. Infinity Edge with the 60% critical chance gives you that increased crit chance. No longer is it scaling like in previous patches. Gave enough burst damage for Gregors to make that play. Can they survive?
They're trying to, waiting on the Blasco, and Gregors gets Alphamos out for now. It's going to be set, still trying to tear it down. True Shot Barrage not quite going to connect. Speed Up's going to come in for Spirit, so same true
the Scuttle Crab.
But now he's in all sorts of trouble. Flash, Ferris Breaker, Showstopper. Gregors trying to put down the damage. He fails. Alphamos now left running to the safety of his own team. Baron will once again be under threat by DMU T1.
Will be 10 seconds left on the respawn from Graves, whereas 40 from the Kaiser. Actually escaping for that long might end up being a bit of a problem for Cabbage Family. They won't have that AD carry with 3+ items to fight around this next objective star from DMU, and the dance continues.
35 minutes in, and Cabbage Family do not have a single turret to their name. Looks like they're about to lose out on the second Baron as well, because finally this one's been started up and potentially secured. Nunu on the other side of the rift. This one has been given away completely free. Does feel like there'll be a big contest coming over the Ocean Soul, however.
There's got to be. It's a soul point for both of these teams. Looking at a huge amount of Ocean Dragons for DMUT1. 4 stacked back to back. Very important for the likes of this Maokai and the set, who are, well, particularly the Maokai, because he does damage from range quite a lot with the saplings. He can heal up most poke over time as long as he doesn't die in the initial engage.
I just had to take a breather there for a moment.
I'm almost through my drink. That's how harsh the game's been.
This game needs to finish soon so that we can top up coming into Game 3. And I'll tell you what, regardless of which way this game goes, Game 3 is probably going to be as much of a banger as well. The question is, will that game be played at 1 game apiece or 2 games to nothing in favour of Cabbage Family? As things look, it looks like we might be seeing an equaliser. We might be seeing that glorified best of 3. We might even get to see silver scrapes, as you predicted earlier on, Nymera. You promised me absolutely cracking action, and so far, these 2 teams are delivering.
Glad to not disappoint you on that one prediction, although I think given the grandness of the occasion, it was bound to happen. We actually see a Ravenous Hydra coming out of the Ezreal. Huge amounts of wave clear coming out, applies on ranged auto attacks nowadays. If you auto attack and you Q, it's going to get a lot of AoE. You stand next to someone, Ezreal might just DPS you through their body.
9 turrets to 0.
Whoa, that's fast!
Huge old Nunu coming in, throws down the absolute 0, but he's already losing so many of his team members. 3 dead already. Sean F trying to do what he can, but it's just not enough. Finding the kill onto Ezreal. Alphamos doing everything as well, doing the absolute Lord's work, but unfortunately, he's not going to save you now. Heavy Dubstep, RMX, and Spirit are going to step forward. The 3 surviving members of DMUT1 will equalise this series. They will claim their 10th and their 11th consecutive turret. Sean F will dash out one last time, desperately trying to save the game. Unfortunately, he will go golden as he fails in his attempt. Does get some good damage down, gets shut down, sees the Nexus explode. 1 game all. We've got a final on our hands.
Huge amount of kills, huge amount of action, and a game apiece. It will not end here. We are destined to go to at least 4. Will it be 5? Certainly hope so, but maybe my vocal cords don't.
You know what? Screw the vocal cords. I've only got 1 more cast before Christmas. Let's put it all into this one and pay the consequences tomorrow. I've just invented the word consequences. Do with that as you wish.
Fantastic. Coming out of that game, DMU slowed the game down as we wanted them to. Heavy dubstep, ending up finding a role he was more comfortable in. We saw a more measured style coming out of this team, and because the early game didn't get blown open enough by Pauper, and as you were saying, importantly, even though the kills are coming in, no turrets fell for Cabbage Family, or in favor of them at least. They couldn't transition into a period of lane assignment that they really wanted, and DMU lapped that up. They just said, okay, sure, we'll stop, we'll scale. If you over-engage into us, our Shockwave is going to win this team fight for us, and they played the team fights very, very well. It did get a bit close.
I'm not here specifically to flame anyone, and usually I try to focus on people's positive plays over negative plays. You know, after all, I make enough mistakes in my exceptionally poor solo queue games, as unfortunately you well know. How's your LP doing, by the way? A
single tier.
But I remember earlier on in that game, there was that early gold lead developed by Cabbage Family. The Nunu ganks were working, and it felt like they started to overforce. And I asked it after 2 consecutive ganks in bot lane. They worked out. They were dives. They got kills, but they first of all gave a shutdown, I think, over to Braum, almost the Ezreal. Then the Ezreal started picking up a kill under turret as well. At one point, the turret was the MVP for DMUT1. Yep. The turret, by the way, which stood along with all of its brethren until the end of the game.
Perfect KDA.
I remember saying at that point, you know, they're giving over crucial kills. DMUT1, they have a way back into this game, and the way back into the game was the Ezreal, almost going untouched in some fights. Even when shut down, the rest of the team was thriving so much that it was too little too late for Cabbage Family. Oh boy, give me 3 more games of that straight into my bloodstream.
Would absolutely love that. I do think that so something which we saw on the solo queue stats, because we've Melvin Izzle and Patrick and have done a lot of work working out a lot of games from the actual solo queue data and going through the API of that. Pauper in his solo queue games actually has a really low Herald control rate. As a jungler, it's like 29%. Very, very low for a jungler. I think that ends up speaking to how Cabbage Family have ended up playing a lot of these games and why they didn't end up taking those turrets. If you have a Herald to place after one of those 1-for-1 ganks in bot side, you get a turret. Then you can start 1-3-1ing more effectively. I wonder if they're going to have to reassess how they play around that and which objectives they're going towards first to then snowball into their bigger bot lane ganks and stuff like that. Because that game was a real problem for them.
Alex, that's interesting you speak of that percent, because actually, if you look at the moment, he's at 33% in terms of heralds secured in this series, because it was one apiece in the first game.
Yeah.
Then that, I'm going to call it, slight int from Porp led to the only herald of the game being secured by the opposition in this one. So, things playing out just as you describe them there. The question is, will he be able to change that around? Will Cabbage Family show the dominance they showed in game 1? Will DMU, T1, managed to do what they did in game 2? Will Alex ever get a good casting partner? The answer to this and more questions after a short break.
That's right.